Hello everybody, Christopher Beast here, and I've recently been working on the Vigor wiki, emphasis on working because I'm definitely not done, but I had to update all the consumable information today, and I decided while I was updating that to might as well cobble together a script on, a ranking of all of these, consumables. We're going to start with the worst one in the game, and we're going to go to the best one. I understand that all of these have their own unique uses. I'm just going to be talking about this from the perspective of which one has the most and which one has the most practical uses. You can feel perfectly free to disagree with me. Just make sure you put it in the comments and explain why. I love hearing opinions that differ from mine because it helps me, cement my opinion. If I disagree with you, then I know that I'm in the right. If I agree with you, then maybe I was in the wrong. But let's get right into this. Starting off with the worst consumable in the game, the transmitter. This thing never really had any use, and its main purpose is to trick people using portable signals and the regular signals into thinking you're somewhere you're not. However, if we're going to be real here, this doesn't really work as well as it's intended. Not only is the transmitter decently expensive being a rare consumable, but on top of that, not many rushers are going to care very much when they just sprint over to a sign in the ground, notice that it's a sign in the ground, break it, and then just sprint to the next target. Maybe you'll buy yourself a minute if you are the next closest target to him, but if you're not, it doesn't really do much to you, and it's honestly just a waste of time. I have seen some people use transmitters in ways on airdrop to trick people into thinking there's more people on the map, so that way they act a little bit slower, so that way they can catch up to airdrop. But this is such a circumstantial use of it that other items do this job miles better. Moving on to the next worst one is the jammer and fake glints. I'm going to be covering both of these at the same time, as I don't need to explain exactly what they do to tell you that they're not great. The jammer basically just disables your compass and makes it so you can't be spotted by signals for a little bit. But really, to be honest, this doesn't change much, as how most players nowadays have always really relied on their eyes and their ears to hear you, which jammers will not protect you from. Fake glints are cool in theory, but I've very rarely seen situations where people are shooting at sniper glint, even like actual sniper glint. So because of that, I don't view fake glint as very important. Moving on to the somewhat important ones are alarm trap, booby trap, and decoy. All three of these can be used to subvert combat in different ways. Alarm traps can be used to warn you if someone's coming near or lure someone away from you. Booby traps can be used to, hurt people trying to get into locked boxes or safe, so that way you can buy yourself extra time when near these POIs. And decoy can be used to, again, lure someone away from you. I rated decoy the best out of the three because decoy is just a better alarm trap in most situations, but alarm trap has its own benefits, and as does the booby trap. The next group is the contact bomb and the iodine. These two are about equal. Contact bombs is usable in a decent amount of situations when it comes to, just causing havoc. Iodine, a lot of people would disagree with me and say it's far more useful than I'm putting on this video, but you have to remember the situations in which you're using iodine are most likely situations where you would have looted it. Iodine isn't a rare loot item, and it can be found in most medical crates and safes. And because of this, why would you bring it, especially seeing how expensive the item is? I personally am not a huge fan of iodine, so I guess that's why it's this far down on the list. Moving on from there, we have caffeine, painkillers, and armor plates. Caffeine, the lowest of these three, because while it does give you a stamina boost and an accuracy increase, honestly, there's very few situations where I see caffeine changing the outcome of a firefight. Painkiller isn't like that. Painkiller can make someone on the brink of death back to full health instantly. However, it does have the downside of you slowly lose health over time. Armor plates can challenge the meta of SGs by making it so they can't exactly just, instantly wipe the floor with you with a simple burst with their eyes closed, but more so that they have to squint a little bit in order to, try a bit in order to kill you. Moving on from there, I put bandages, mortar strike, and portable signals. Bandages, I put very high up the list because much like painkillers, you can use these in the middle of a firefight to get most of your HP back, but unlike painkillers, you don't have to worry about, it ticking down on you. Worrying about painkillers ticking down on you is another thing to worry about while you're in a tense firefight, and it's just not a good equation. Mortar Strikes is above bandages because Mortar Strikes are Mortar Strikes. They're still extremely useful in a lot of situations, but they're this far down on the list after the whole nerf to not being able to pen solid objects. Portable Signals is the next one on the list, and I don't think I need to explain anything about that. While I might be someone who very much hates the use of portable signals, like with a passion, I think they're a horrible item, they're useful. They're very useful, and they very much change combat in a lot of ways. They can completely eliminate your need to go up to the signal detector completely, which if you can do that, gets you out of a lot of combat lanes that are hard to fight. So you can just sit in a bush or stand off the combat lane, wait for someone to hit signals and pray them that way, or use the portable signals farther down the combat lane and get the jump on people. Or you can just use them to, be aggressive and go after kills. The top two, the number 2 is Disinfectant. I know, Disinfectant's not something a lot of people are fans of anymore, but when I started the game back in 1.1, this was my bae, and it still is in my heart. Disinfectant is cheap, fast, and everywhere, and that's why it's number 2. When someone needs to get healed, they're most likely going to be healing with disinfectants. It's just how it is, because you're going to find it the most on safes, medical crates, dead bodies, random containers, locked boxes, cash. All that stuff is going to have large amounts of disinfectant. Not only mentioning the fact that it's extremely cheap and you can craft large chunks of it and still nowhere near touch the amount of mats that the other consumables consume, because it's a lot cheaper. I also have to add that disinfectants is instant. You can, with one pop of a disinfectant, recover enough HP to survive another 5.56 shot. One 5.56 shot, true, but if you buy enough time, you can pop enough disinfectants to survive 2 or 3. Moving on to the number 1 and the gold prize winner of the best consumable in my opinion, we get the antibiotics. The antibiotics are the best. They're just the best at their job. Nobody should be going, I'm going to pop an antibiotic in the middle of a firefight, and then they'll die, and then I will laugh at them. Because antibiotics are supposed to really be used when you finish up the firefight and you're in red HP and you need to get back to full HP for the next firefight. Nobody wants to be sitting around wasting all their bandages, which they could be using in firefights, or wasting their valuable disinfectants. Instead, pump yourself full of antibiotics. One of them will do the job. The other thing with antibiotics is you can use them as static healing. If you can pop one very early into a fight, and when you've only been shot once, it will continue healing you for most of the firefight unless have an extremely long firefight, which is fair if you do. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just think antibiotics are the definitive best. Also, add on the fact they're only rare, which means they're, relatively cheap compared to things like mortars and armor plates. And you guys can completely disagree with me, but these are just the opinions I made while I was working on the wiki. I hope you guys are all good, and until next time.